Hey, what's up? So listen, let's talk. For many of us, there is a part of us that we seldom ever confront. For the most part, there is a version of each of us that we cannot afford to keep feeding or entertaining. Not because you and I lack potential, but because that version of us keeps quietly undermining everything that God is trying to build in our lives. It's the version of us that stays half asleep when purpose is calling, the version that negotiates with discipline, and that version of us that sometimes finds a good reason to not pull the trigger on things. And the scary part is that version of us, it does not announce itself, it doesn't warn us, it doesn't shout, hey, I'm quietly ruining and undermining your future. It works through excuses, procrastinations. It works through promises that we make to ourselves that we never follow through on or seldom follow through on. I need you to understand that even though that version of us, that weak version of us, that most of us don't ever want to talk about, it seems harmless, but it is really skilled at slow destruction, delaying our dreams, pushing us to abandon opportunities, wasting our potential in unnoticeable moments. And here is something else that we must recognize. That weak version of us oftentimes pushes us towards what feels good and is convenient right now, even if it moves us away from the mission that God has placed inside of us. It chooses comfort over calling, convenience over commitment, and it chooses the moment over the big picture of the mission. And listen, most people don't need another speech. Most people don't need another pep talk. Most people don't even need another book to read or another podcast to listen to because we have information. We've received enough motivation. What most people really need is the courage and the audacity to face themselves, to look at the version of themselves that keeps dropping the ball, to confront the habits that keep derailing their progress, and to stop lying to themselves about why their life is not moving forward. Because the more you tolerate the weaker version of you, the more you drift away from who you were created to be. It convinces you that there's always more time. It tells you nobody will notice if you skip today. But every time you say yes to that voice, that weak voice, you take one more step away from the life that you were meant to live. And eventually, you forget the dreams that once filled your soul. Everything becomes routine, safe, predictable, but very empty. And the most dangerous thing about that weaker version is that it finds a way to justify itself. It makes excuses sound very reasonable. It gives you comfort at the cost of your character, your strength, and forward momentum. It convinces you that ease is freedom, when ease is really a velvet wrapped prison, a prison with the door wide open, but one you never step out of simply because the inside feels familiar and safe. And then one day you look up and you say, how in the world did I get here? Why am I not further? Where did the fire go that used to be in me? Beloved, you don't have to live like that. You don't have to keep empowering the version of you that keeps you small. There is a stronger you, the disciplined you, the focused you, the spiritually awakened you that is waiting to rise. But that version cannot come forward until you stop giving life to the one that keeps you stuck. So today is the day to choose differently. Today is the day to honor the mission inside of you. Today is the day to stop doing what feels good for the moment and start doing what is good for your future. So, real quickly, what are some signs that the weak version of you is taking over? Well, one of those signs is that you choose what's familiar instead of what will stretch you and challenge you. In other words, comfort becomes your home base even when growth requires discomfort. Number two, you spend more energy proving yourself than improving yourself. This is where image becomes more important than development, and pride replaces progress or what is pragmatic. Number three, you stop being growth minded because you think you already know enough. When teachability leaves, stagnation enters. Number four, you never ask yourself if you might be the problem, but instead you defend yourself instead of evaluating yourself. Number five, you resent correction, redirection, or accountability. This is where feedback feels like an attack instead of what it is, which is a gift. Number six, you refuse to invest in what would actually make you better. Growth opportunities show up, but you don't sow into them. Not your time, not your discipline, not your energy. And last but not least, here is another indication that the weaker version of you just might be taking over. Everything becomes transactional. So instead of serving, learning, or growing from a pure place, you start asking, what do I get out of this? And you miss the opportunity to enrich others by allowing yourself to offer up what you know that you have the ability to contribute. Pay attention to the weak version of you and do everything you can to attack it each and every day. Be blessed.